Tommy Robinson may be headed back to jail. Tommy Robinson is, of course, the anti-Islamism activist in the United Kingdom who last year was sentenced to 13 months behind bars for running a Facebook live stream outside a courthouse in Leeds. Tommy Robinson was filming the arrival of several men who are now convicted sex groomers, part of a sex grooming gang in Britain, and the judge who was overseeing this case looked out the window, saw that Tommy Robinson was doing his stream, and had him arrested, charged, convicted, sentenced, and thrown to jail all within a matter of about 5 hours, without so much as a chance to say goodbye to his wife and kids. Now, the Tommy Robinson case has been a contentious one, and I've said myself that I'm not necessarily a fan of a lot of the things that Tommy Robinson has said and done. But at the same time, I'm a fan of due process, and more importantly, I think that when it comes to the cases of the rape and grooming gangs, Tommy Robinson has been the only person in Britain who's really been prepared to speak about them honestly, especially at times when the mainstream media was nowhere to be found on the issue. So I'm sympathetic to what he's tried to do in this case in shining the light on it. Now, back in August, after Tommy had been spending much of his time incarcerated actually in solitary confinement, getting the same treatment that some of the most vicious offenders in all of Britain get, he was actually released. He fought an appeal, won his appeal when the appellate judge determined that the earlier judge who treated him with very little regard for due process had made errors. So in August, Tommy Robinson was freed, and that case was referred to have a new contempt of court hearing supposed to be scheduled for last October. Now, you may remember I was in the United Kingdom for that case. In October, I covered it, went all the way to London to the Old Bailey to sit down, and ultimately the case never happened. The most senior judge at the Old Bailey decided that it was too complex to be heard without reference from the Attorney General. So what the judge did is referred the case to the British Attorney General to decide whether contempt of court proceedings should continue. Now, it wasn't a wasted trip because I learned a great deal about Tommy Robinson, about the English justice system, and more importantly, about the English media. One story that I broke, which was worth the plane ticket to get there, was certainly that the mainstream British press were conspiring not just to manipulate and lie about covering Tommy Robinson, but they had also already made up their minds about his case and his guilt. And they spoke about this candidly in front of me, not knowing that I wasn't one of them. But at the same time, it's not just about the media. Tommy Robinson's life and liberty hang in the balance depending on what happens in the case. The Attorney General has decided to order a new contempt of court hearing. At this point, it's scheduled for March 22nd, coming up in just a couple of short weeks. Now, if schedules permit, I plan to be there to cover this case because the issues facing Tommy Robinson really are global issues that we see elsewhere in the Commonwealth and indeed in the Western world, in Canada, in the United States. But the most important question that I think a lot of people need to ask here is whether their personal opinions of Tommy Robinson are getting in the way of their opinions about due process. And indeed, for a lot of the press, that certainly seems to be the case. My interest in this has always been about free speech and whether someone is, in the name of political correctness or a prosecutorial witch hunt, being treated differently than the law suggests. A few weeks ago, I was actually trying to get an update on this case, and I sent a couple of inquiries to the Office of the United Kingdom Attorney General, and the office would not respond. There was no transparency, not even a casual, I got your email, but I can't comment, nothing whatsoever. And of course, with the news this week that Geoffrey Cox, the AG, has ordered a new trial, it's no surprise why they didn't want to comment when I reached out a few weeks back. We'll be covering this case no matter what, but remember that the themes facing this are universal themes. And the idea of due process, of free speech, of having the right to cover cases even when they are controversial is an important value that True North is standing up for. Whether it's covering Tommy Robinson or covering the battles that are taking place on Canadian soil, we do need your help. Please head on over to truenorthinitiative.com and you can support us with a monthly contribution or even a one-off contribution. We greatly appreciate it. For True North, I'm Andrew Lawton.